Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Oakland Raiders versus Philadelphia Eagles Week 16 matchup based on analytics. Each week, I like to collect all of the current 2017 NFL team data in order to analyze and project potential NFL performance. And since it's a weekly collection, there's always going to be some variation between various variables. However, there's always going to be little nuggets of truth that could become bigger nuggets of truth as the season continues. So stick around as I analyze each week's matchups based on analytics. And if you are new to the channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So, starting with this matchup between the Oakland Raiders and the Philadelphia Eagles. When you look at the NFL stat basic comparison data, and basic comparison data essentially looks at how the offense is doing, how the defense is doing, and of course how the special teams is doing based on various team statistics related to those topics. And when you look at this data, the vast majority of it favors the Philadelphia Eagles pretty heavily. Now, a lot of this, of course, is influenced by Carson Wentz and a lot of the other sort of things related to him as well. But still, even without Carson Wentz, the Eagles still have a lot of positives in their favor. So we're just going to treat this as kind of looking at what the Raiders are right now, and then, of course, what the Eagles are, and they may be a little bit off from this because of Wentz being injured, but they still are a strong team regardless of Wentz, especially when it comes to the defensive side of the football. So when we get into the data here, first off, offensively speaking, the Eagles are tremendously better than the Raiders in a lot of different areas. First off, the Eagles have the better turnover ratio, meaning they don't turn the football over as much as the Raiders have this year. They also have the better offensive score percentage, meaning that they typically score on a per drive basis more often on offense compared to what the Raiders have been able to muster this year. And those two categories are the two main areas where the Raiders have really faltered this year. The Raiders had a below average defense last year, but they actually had good turnover ratio and good offensive score percentage last year. That was a big driver of their success. And this year, as you can clearly see, they've become downright average in both those categories, and as a result, they've kind of fallen off of a cliff in terms of their success. But either way, the Eagles still should have the superior offense, regardless of Wentz, because of just their overall offensive score percentage in those other areas. On top of the defense of the Eagles, even though Carson Wentz is out, that doesn't take away from what the Eagles' defense has done. And in every statistical category on defense, the Eagles are better. The Eagles are better in defensive offensive score percentage. They're better in turnover ratio, sack percentage, interception percentage. All the defensive categories that matter towards winning football games, the Eagles are significantly better than the Raiders' defense in those particular areas. So when you just combine everything all together, the Eagles are just a very strong team. Losing Wentz definitely is a blow, but I think they will still be able to kind of carry themselves a little bit, especially over a team like the Raiders, who have just really struggled this year on offense and struggled on defense especially. I mean, defense is by far the worst unit on this team. Then when you get to the special team side of things, when you look at punt return yardage, the Eagles are favored there. Kick return yardage, the Raiders are favored. Defensive punt return yardage favors the Eagles as well. Defensive kick return yardage favors the Raiders. Field goal percentage favors the Eagles. Extra point percentage favors the Raiders. And punting average favors the Raiders as well. In terms of who has the better special teams, it's pretty much the Eagles. As I say every single week, by far the most important statistic when it comes to data in general, when it comes to all this other kind of stuff, is, at least in terms of regards to all this stuff, is the field goal percentage. That's by far the most important data point here. So overall, the Eagles have the better special teams, the Eagles have the better offense, and the Eagles have the better defense as well when it comes to all of those specific statistics and all those other sort of areas. So again, all those areas are pretty much there when it comes to all the data points. Now when you get to some other sort of data points, and now we're going to get into some different kind of statistics here when it comes to the micro matchups, or just different sort of areas where there is some differences here when it comes to the data. So first off, we get to completion percentage between the Oakland Raiders and the Philadelphia Eagles. When it comes to this particular area, the Eagles are favored on first and third down when it comes to completion percentage. So essentially, the Eagles' defense is legit. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that I think is going to shine with the absence of Wentz, is just how good this Eagles' defense is. And this of course, is one of those areas where they are very good when it comes to this. And then, of course, when you get to the next area where you look at the Eagles' offense versus Raiders' defense, where the Eagles' offense is favored on second and third down. Despite losing Carson Wentz, the Raiders have continually been a very poor passing D. And as a result, as you can clearly see, I mean, a lot of this, of course, is Carson Wentz dependent. I mean, the third down completion percentage and all this other sort of stuff, and also the flaws are definitely Carson Wentz. However, even despite all those flaws, the Raiders' defense is so poor that I think whoever is the quarterback for the Eagles will have success against them. So this definitely kind of bodes well for the Eagles' favor as well when it comes to the data. Then, of course, you get to rushing down. So this is first down conversion rate with the run based on various downs and distances. This doesn't really have anything to do with yardage or with explosive plays. It purely just has to do with the ability to get first downs in these different downs and distances. So this is purely about if it's 1st and 10, if you get more first downs, you are going to score higher in this area compared to the rest of the NFL. And in this particular area, as you can see, the Raiders are favored on second and third down. The Eagles have a very good first down run defense, meaning that they typically do well to not allow big rushing plays to happen on first down, but they do tend to kind of give up things once you hit second down and third down. So I think the Raiders will have some success rushing the football in this game based on all the other sort of odds and ends here. And then, of course, you look at the Eagles offense versus the Raiders defense when it comes to rushing downs. And in this particular area, the Eagles are favored on first and second down. So again, both those areas pretty much kind of favor the Eagles there when it comes to the data for the most part. And then you get to passing down. So this is the Raiders offense versus Eagles defense when it comes to passing downs. And it pretty much favors the Eagles defense here on first and third down. Big down and distances, and kind of shows again that the Eagles defense is no joke. They do pretty well in very important downs and distances when it comes to preventing things from happening. And then, of course, you get to the Eagles offense versus Raiders defense when it comes to passing downs. And in this area, the Raiders are actually kind of favored, slightly favored in terms of first down and second down. A lot of this, of course, is Carson Wentz dependent, though. So that's the only thing I would kind of throw out there, is a lot of the flaws here are Wentz's flaws. So whoever the new quarterback is, I think he might have a different sort of say in terms of what happens here based on all the other sort of data here. And then, of course, you get to sack rate between the Raiders offense and the Eagles defense. And based on this data, the Raiders are favored on second and third down when it comes to the overall data here. So I think the Raiders shouldn't have too much problem, or shouldn't have too many problems stopping sacks from happening. But I think the main down to watch is first down, because there is a big disparity there between the Raiders offense and the Eagles defense when it comes to that particular down and distance. And then, of course, we get to the Eagles offense versus the Raiders defense when it comes to sacks. This particular area, the Eagles are favored on second and third down. So again, those are big down and distances where I think the Eagles will have a lot of success there when it comes to the data. And then, of course, you get to interception ratio, where the Eagles are favored on second and third down when it comes to interceptions. Those are pretty much the main down and distances where I think the Eagles could get some picks. And I think the big down to watch is third down. I mean, that's most of the interceptions that the Eagles have been able to force have come on third down, and the Raiders have not had a ton of success preventing interceptions from being thrown in those situations. Thus, I think the Eagles might have a good shot of getting some picks in this game as well. And then finally, you get to the Eagles offense versus the Raiders defense when it comes to interceptions, where it's pretty much a clean sweep for the Eagles offense. Probably very unlikely that there will be picks thrown. This is, of course, Carson Wentz dependent, though. Carson Wentz, of course, didn't really throw a ton of interceptions this year. However, whoever the new quarterback is, he's going up against a defense of the Raiders that have not really forced a lot of interceptions either. So a lot of this stuff kind of goes into that sort of frame of mind, if you will. So overall, general thoughts and opinions about this game when it comes to the Raiders and the Eagles. I think it's going to be Eagles' victory. I do understand that there's sort of a changing dynamic here because of Carson Wentz being injured, but I think despite that, I think this will still be good things for the Eagles. I think the defense for the Eagles is still intact. I think the offense of the Eagles will still have success, and I think ultimately all those factors will kind of help the Eagles along to kind of get a very tough but definitely get a win in this particular game. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you believe is going to win this football game? And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.